So this is the Canon AE-1, my third ever film camera, and one of my favorites ever. So this is a regular 35mm SLR. This one has some quirks, in particular this exact copy, but we'll get to that in a second. Yes, so this is my third ever film camera, after my Yashica FR and my Yashica 2200 AF. This was a Christmas present from my father, because he had also had an AE-1 in the past, and while it isn't the exact AE-1, it is almost identical. So I currently have on it the 55 1.2 FL lens, which we're just going to put aside for now, so we can look at the camera. I absolutely love this thing. I think it looks amazing. I currently have film in it, so I can't open the back, but it's a pretty traditional 35mm SLR. You got your rewind knob, battery check, viewfinder, obviously, locked shutter button, self timer, unlocked, there's your self timer, film counter window, obviously your advanced knob, change your shutter speeds here, change your ISO there, lens goes here, battery goes here, depth of field preview, flash sync port, auto exposure without depressing the shutter button, and backlit overexposed by 1.5 stops. It overexposes by 1.5 stops because that's what they felt like. Now, this camera does not have auto shutter speeds, but it does have auto aperture on lenses that support it. This one does not. I have quite a bit of FD lenses that do support it. I just don't have them here. They're in the cabinet that's about 6 feet away from me, and I'm entirely too lazy to go get them. Anyway, it has auto aperture, where you select a shutter speed and it sets the aperture as shutter priority mode, and it'll go from ISO I think 25 to like 1600, and it is the world's first consumer camera with a microchip in it. So that's fun. More electronics to be damaged. Takes LR44 batteries, 4 LR44 batteries, which is a single battery. It's not 4 of them. I mean, it is 4 of them, but it's sold as one battery. It's kind of dumb. I think it's funny. You could just stack 4 LR44 batteries on top of each other and stick them in here. But instead, it's just one 6-volt battery that is essentially 4 of them. Anyway, I've never taken this apart because it works almost perfectly, and I haven't needed to. I'm not going to take it apart, although I do have some problems with it. This specific one, the light meter, is a little fucked. So you see this pin here, or you see the lack of the pin there. There's supposed to be a pin that comes out, and that indexes with the lens. Again, this lens doesn't. You know what? We're gonna explain with these. So you see where this pin is supposed to be. It sticks out a little bit, or it doesn't. You can see in this AE-1 program, which is a completely different camera, although very similar in the lens, this little pin depresses like that. And that tells the camera via these little knobs on the lens here what the maximum aperture of the lens is, or essentially how big the opening gets. And that's useful because sometimes you'll have different lenses, like a 1.8 versus a 1.2, and it'll the light meter will be read differently depending on this. If I put this lens on this camera right now, it will underexpose the image because it thinks it's getting hit with more light. And so normally when you connect the lens, it indexes with that, and you connect and you can take your pictures. And apparently there's film in this? Oh, haha. This is my test roll film. I'm stupid. We'll collect this to be used in a second. Anyway, that's missing from this camera because I tried to fix the light meter and it didn't work. And I say tried to fix because this light meter had been crapping out on me a little bit. It wouldn't work, or it'd be very inconsistent. With some lenses, like this lens, and some manual lenses, it would work relatively okay. It's generally pretty accurate, but it was just working okay. And then certain lenses I'd put on it and it wouldn't work at all. And I have to adjust my ISO to get the correct meter reading. And I didn't really want to do that. That's not very fun to do. So I tried to fix it. I thought maybe I can turn this dial in and out, because I had read up on that a little bit and it says you can adjust it a little bit. And it fell off and I can't find it. So that's how we're going with this guy. Now, you may notice I have this. You may notice there's two very similar cameras, and I hate to break it to you, there's actually three. I have quite a few of these, although there is a pretty big difference between the AE-1 and the AE-1 program, and that might be a future video, but who knows. Anyway, I do have two of these. The other one is actually at my father's house because he is using it currently, because he hasn't used a film camera in a while and he's using it for star photos, which should be pretty fun. Anyway, we're gonna get to some of the photos that I've taken with this camera after I put the lens that I want to use on it. By the way, this lens, the FL50 1.2, like, absolutely gorgeous lens. I love this thing. It's a 55, not a 50. There's a few different versions of it. I love it. I think it's spectacular. Anyway, looking at some pictures. This is a darkroom print. This is not an inkjet print. This was taken on, I think, some old FP4 or some old T-Max. I'm not entirely sure which one. And this was with the FD50 1.4. So the model in between this, but it's an FD, not an FL lens. So yeah, there's that. I think this one came out pretty good. The lights here are not doing it well for reflections. We have this, which this is Lomo Purple that I've taken with this camera. I have no idea what lens it was, but it's Lomo Purple in the AE-1. I think it's probably just the FD50, this guy. And this came out great. Shutter speed's great. This was when the meter was still working, so the meter was great. This is Fuji 400 or Fuji 200, I don't know, modern. This is from a camping trip in the Adirondacks. These two are obviously inkjet prints. I don't have a color darkroom currently. Yeah, I think it generally came out pretty good. Got the nice borders on there. Colors came out great. The colors don't have much to do with the actual camera body, but these lenses are nice. I think this was the Canon FL 35mm, which is one of my favorite lenses ever. It's very sharp. And the last one, this one looks a little different because it's framed to sell, but this is another Lomo Purple shot taken from the top of the mountain with, I think, the FD lens, again, the FD50. And again, it's just the quality of this camera is just very nice. It's overall a very pleasant to use camera. Everything kind of makes sense. Sometimes, I don't know if this is one of the squeaky ones, but it'll squeak. It'll make that kind of shutter squeak, even though it's not the exact same camera. This still does make this shutter sound sometimes, like this. Can be very annoying. This one thankfully does not have it. This is actually the best out of all of my AE-1s. They all do a marginal level of squeak. But this one is the best, and I love it. It's so much fun to use. I have a little hook down here because I have a strap that sits down by my waist, and the camera kind of sits like this, and I can flip it up to shoot with it. Yeah, it's overall one of my favorite cameras ever. It's one of my most used cameras ever, for sure. And I have so many awesome lenses that go on this thing. It's really cool. To name a few favorites, I'm gonna go get them actually. I'll be right back. To name a few favorites, we have FD24 2.8. Love that. It's so sharp. The Helios 44M, spectacular lens. Please ignore my lack of lens caps. We have the FL35 2.8, or 2.5 I should say. Again, this is one of the sharpest lens I've used. And we have this 35 to 105 FD lens. It's a parfocal zoom lens. This is very nice. I don't really use it that much because I usually stay on the 35 side of things, and one of these is a whole lot smaller than the other. But it's a very interesting lens. This copy is a little weird. That's the front element. It's not supposed to do that, but it focuses fine, and it's only like marginally dirty. There's a little bit of fungalungus growing in there. But I don't really feel like disassembling it. And it works fine for now. So we're gonna leave it. And if I don't, I have like double this amount of lenses for this camera system because I have so many of them. But these are just my favorites. Helios, spectacular. This is an M4 II lens that I adapted to it. Absolutely love it. This thing, fucking amazing. This thing, also love it. Love this guy. This is probably my most used lens on this camera, actually. It's a nice size like this, and it's pretty easy to adjust. And I usually do Sunny 16 or meter by hand, either with my phone or with this guy, which is a little handheld light meter, and you can tell it's very dark in the room right now. And this serves me pretty well, especially for medium format and large format. And yeah, so that's about it for the Canon AE-1, one of my favorite cameras ever, and a very popular beginner film camera. Would I recommend buying one of these? If you have $200.